Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Psych Talk. Today we'll explore the history of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, how it was created, who started it, and why it's become a cornerstone for so many seeking freedom from addiction. We will also dive into real stories shared by individuals in recovery, reflect on their experiences, and unpack the meaning and purpose behind the 12 steps. So let's get into it. Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in 1935 in Akron, Ohio, by two men, Bill Wilson, a stockbroker, and Dr. Bob Smith, a physician. Both of them were struggling with alcoholism and found themselves unable to overcome it alone. And the pivotal moment came when Bill shared his story of recovery with Dr. Bob. In the moment of shared vulnerability, they realized the power of mutual support and accountability. And so together, they created a program centered on personal growth, spiritual connection, and helping others, a philosophy that will become the foundation of AA. And by 1939, they published the Big Book, which laid out the 12 steps and their guiding principles. And since then, AA has grown into this global movement, helping millions of people worldwide. And so the realization was that drug addiction, it's almost impossible to overcome it alone. And you're going to need the help from other people who are also having the same struggles as you. The interesting thing is also that these 12 steps have not changed since 1935. So now let's share some personal stories that some individuals have shared in AA meetings, and each story offers a unique perspective on the challenges of addiction and the transformative power of recovery. Let's share a story of freedom and self-worth. A woman in her 60s and 70s shared how her life before sobriety was miserable. She depended on others, family, the government for everything. But once she became sober, she was able to support herself, which gave her an incredible sense of freedom. And before her recovery, she admitted to stealing from loved ones and referred to herself as a thief. And so her journey shows the importance of self-respect in recovery. Addiction often drives behaviors that conflict with personal values, and sobriety allows individuals to realign with their true selves. As Carl Rogers might say, she achieved congruence between her real self and her ideal self. And I just want to make sure that I clarify these stories are from real people that have shared these in AA meetings that I have been. And so, yeah. The second story, or the second reflection that has been shared, is about the need for growth and forward motion. So a young man in his 30s shared how he realized recovery is not about becoming the person he was before the addiction. It's about becoming someone entirely new. He described the journey as continuous growth, saying if you stop paddling, you won't stay where you are. You'll start paddling backward. And so his metaphor aligns with the philosophy of constant effort and change. In recovery, stagnation is not an option. It's a dynamic process that mirrors the flow of life itself. And so what he meant is that in order for you to stay sober and move forward, you can't stop paddling. You have to keep paddling, because if you stop, then you will go back. Backwards. And so you're always striving to become the best or a better version of yourself, and always having a goal in mind, always having new goals when you already achieved the ones that you already had. And also how it's very important not to look in the past and wanting to become the person that you were before the addiction, but to create a new identity, to become a new person, because you can't go back on who you were before the addiction. Okay. Another personal story is about helping others as a cornerstone of sobriety. So a man emphasized that helping others is critical to his own sobriety. By giving back, he strengthens his commitment to staying sober. And this aligns with Eric Erickson's concept of generativity. So finding purpose and fulfillment by contributing to the well-being of others. Another personal reflection is about overcoming skepticism and finding trust. So one participant admitted that when they first joined AA, they thought it was full of crap. And over time, they saw the sincerity of the group and realized the genuine support offered by members. And so the story highlights the importance of overcoming initial resistance and trusting in the process, which is a key theme in both therapy and recovery. Another story is about the misconceptions about AA. So several participants actually addressed the misconception that AA is a cult, and they explained that AA in reality has no rules, has no leader, no fees, so there's no coercion, and members are free to come and go as they please. And so this egalitarian structure fosters accessibility and inclusivity, ensuring that anyone can seek help without fear of judgment or control. And another story is about the importance of surrender, which is a recurring theme with the idea that surrendering is the first step in the journey of sobriety. So one participant explained that recovery requires free will, willingness, and consistent effort. And so this mirrors Buddhist teachings on acceptance and detachment, letting go of the illusion of control to embrace a healthier path. And now I would like to share with you the 12 steps of AA and what is their meaning behind these steps. And also you might understand why people in recovery, they practice these steps on a daily basis in order to stay sober, and how many of individuals that are in recovery, because you're never recovered from an addiction, you're always in recovery, how many of them, in order to stay sober, they kind of find a relationship with a higher power. Okay, so the first step is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And so this first step is quite literally about acceptance and acknowledging the problem rather than denying it, which is pretty much a rule for every problem that people have in their life. In order to solve the problem, you first have to admit that you have that problem. And I also wanted to mention that, let's say a person or an individual is not ready to move forward to the next step, they will repeat the step that are in that moment over and over in order to move forward to the next step. Because if you're not ready for the next step, then you will not actually overcome sobriety, if that makes sense. So you have to go on your own pace, and you're the only one who knows when you're ready or not to move to the next step. Okay, the second step is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And so this step emphasizes faith in something greater, whether it's a higher power, a community, or universal principles. Third, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And this is about surrendering control, and trusting the process helps alleviate the burden of doing it alone. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And this means be extremely honest and raw and surrender to it. And so engage in some self-reflection to identify behaviors, patterns, and beliefs that contribute to the addiction. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And this is about vulnerability and honesty, and how these can foster healing and connection. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And so this step reflects the willingness to change and grow, and the fact that, quote unquote, we're ready for change now. But why now? Why are you ready in this moment? And let's say if you don't feel ready yet, you can go back to the previous step. Okay. Number 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. So again, humility opens the door to transformation. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. So this is about taking responsibility and accountability, which is a critical step in rebuilding relationships and self-respect. And so you may write on your journal, or you may write a letter to all the people you hurt while you were an addict, while you were suffering from substance use disorder. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so will injure them or others. So making amends restores trust and promotes healing. And it's not about you anymore. And you should know that what you have done was wrong, the behavior was wrong, and so you have to do retribution. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. What this means is that all these steps, we bring it not only to the sobriety, but we bring it to all parts of our lives, because we're new beings and we're changing. And so you're gonna be humble enough to know that you did something wrong. And whenever you're wrong, whenever you make a mistake, even if it's not related to addiction, you admit it. And so recovery is an ongoing process that requires self-awareness and accountability. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. So spiritual practices provide clarity and strength for the journey. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So what this means is giving back to the community. So now we're helping others. Now we are the provider. And helping others is both a method of service and a way to sustain one's own recovery. And so I wanted to emphasize that the stories shared in AA meetings are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of community. And so the 12 steps, which were born out of a moment of shared vulnerability between Bill Wilson and Dr. Smith, have become quite literally a lifeline for millions. And whether it's through surrendering control, making amendments, or helping others, each step is built toward a life of fulfillment, purpose, and freedom from addiction. And remember that if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, remember that help is always available. These AA meetings are for free. They're quite literally everywhere. You can join them via Zoom, or you can find a church that is offering these meetings, or there are many places that have these group meetings. And the journey may be extremely challenging, but these communities will help you through it. They literally care about others in the meetings. They quite literally see you as their brothers and sisters. And that is it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We're called Psych Talk Pod. Thank you.